We'll go
All
from there.
right.
Alrighty. So, what do you think about the Patriots against the Dolphins?
Um, I think the Dolphins are going to win. It's in Miami. See, Patriots just got lucky last week. Who did they play? Oh, here it is. They played. Oh yeah, they beat the Bills. Nah, nah, they're not going to beat the Bills and the Dolphins at Miami 2 weeks in a row. I don't believe in that.
Well, I actually think they will. So, tall boy bet. Uh, I owe you a beer if the Patriots win. But the over under is
I'm down with it.
47. It's 9.5 point underdogs for the Patriots.
Man,
You're not starting Mac Jones, but how do you feel about Kendrick Bourne?
Kendrick Bourne, I would start. He's the only wide receiver. Honestly, I would even really trust. Wide receiver, then is it Hunter Henry?
Yeah, Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki is outscored him last week in fantasy, but yeah, I mean,
Like a fluke maybe.
yeah, I mean they're using a lot of 12 personnel, so two tight ends are on the field. You really just, I don't know. I don't think you can trust them, either of them. But I mean,
Yeah.
I say temper your expectations with Kendrick Bourne. If Juju's in, he takes a lot of snaps away from him. So, but he's been balling out. What do you think about Zeke and Ramondre this week?
Zeke. Wait, was Zeke an honest question?
Yeah, I mean he scored like 13 fantasy points last week.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
I must have missed it.
he's actually starting to out rush, so he gets more rushing attempts than Ramondre. But Ramondre is getting the PPR routes.
Oh my gosh. That is so good. 2.8 yards per carry. Zeke.
Yeah, I mean,
No, I
uh,
wouldn't start him. I wouldn't start him at all. That's a big dart throw if he
well,
gets a TD.
yeah. Well, they're using him at the goal line more too. I think you can start both, but I would rather start Ramondre, especially if
Yeah.
he's a PPR lock this week. I think they're going to attack
If
the defense that way with the run game because obviously Mac Jones isn't great.
maybe standard. I mean, if you had Zeke in standard, then I would maybe consider it. I still wouldn't even be locked on it on a standard league, but PPR I would do Ramondre.
Yeah. What about the Patriots defense? How do you feel about them starting them this week?
I mean, they say Tyreek Hill and Waddle are banged up, but you know how that goes.
I think you can start the Patriots. They're going to have to get turnovers in this game to win it. I mean, I could see you starting the Patriots. It's not like a perfect matchup, but it's at least middle of the road, fantasy wise. But how do you think? What do you think about Miami's offense?
I just know that when they played the Saints at home, uh, New England, they
Uh,
gave up 34 points and they didn't score a single point.
yeah,
You
it was
know,
pretty bad. It looks like
then
they
they beat the
figured
Bills.
something out,
I think
but
that says more about the Bills than the Patriots that they beat them. You know what I mean?
yeah, I understand. But yeah, I mean, as far as Tua, I think you can give him a start this week. Even though I see the Patriots winning this game. I mean,
I would start him.
yeah. Um, I mean, obviously Waddle you're putting in and Tyreek, Mostert as well. I think all skill position players that are normal starts.
I'm
But what?
still waiting for Waddle's big game, man. He just
Yeah.
hasn't.
What do you think about Jeff Wilson? Give him a dart throw this week.
Jeff Wilson, did he play last week?
Yeah, he did. He only got like one fantasy point. Not a lot of touches, not a lot of opportunities or snaps. So
Yeah. No, I would stay away from him personally.
yeah,
Stay
um,
away until they're proven.
yeah. I think once Achan's back, you'll start seeing Jeff Wilson's name out of fantasy relevance. But hopefully,
I
you can
agree.
use him in this meantime. The Dolphins' offense was humming. Hopefully, they are humming in this game. What about their
I th-
defense with Ramsey and Xavier Howard back, you think they're a good start this week?
I mean, yeah, honestly,
Yeah.
I like him against the Patriots at home.
Yeah, I mean they're improving slowly but I still see them as pretty poor defense. Maybe those two cornerbacks, they're 1 and 2 cornerbacks, they're top two, uh, will make a
They're
huge
not.
difference.
Yeah, they're not an elite defense, but I mean, they have playmakers. Like their defensive line is actually
Yeah, Bradley
like
Chubb, Jalen
pretty
Phillips.
good.
Yeah, Jalen Phillips. You're going to start hearing that name more. Turn into an elite pass rusher, I think. So, alrighty, on to the next one. So, what do you think about the Saints Colts matchup?
Saints, Colts.
Over under of 43. It's basically a pick 'em. Colts are underdogs at home by 1.5 points.
Yeah, they were favorites. They opened
Yeah,
out as 1 point favorite.
yeah. That's what
Everybody has the money on the Saints.
yeah, that's what worries me about this matchup. What do you feel about Gardner Minshew and all the passing options?
I mean, he can definitely hold his own in fantasy land. I don't know if he's nobody. I don't think he's a quarterback I want long term to be our quarterback, but he can get some fantasy points.
Yeah,
You saw that with the 2 rushing touchdowns.
I think the way this Shane Seichen's making this offense just like hum. He wants a lot of plays. He wants a lot of quick passes. So I think Gardner Minshew's a good streamer, even though it's not a great matchup this week. He outperformed his stream last week.
He,
You weren't even gonna stream him last week.
put it this way, like he's a backup for the Colts, and he is just as good as I would say 20 other quarterbacks in the NFL.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I mean, he's the only reason that we have that he was a backup was because we drafted Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, after that 20 tier, the 20th quarterback, they can all be interchangeable at that point. I feel like just based on the system and who they know, and
almost after 10, really.
yeah, it's true too.
You know,
Yeah,
I know
but
you and Tim been talking about it.
yeah, but anywho, so you think that Joshua Downs and Michael Pittman Jr. are good starts this week too?
Yeah, Pittman for sure. I mean, you already heard what he said after the dude. You can broadcast, or you
Yeah,
can anytime it's like the squeaky wheel.
yeah.
They always get fed the next game.
Oh yeah, I hear you. So yeah, I mean, he's still not bad fantasy wise the past couple weeks. So I think his average, the way they're using him this whole season, you have good sample size. He's in your lineup. I think Josh Downs is in your flex. What about JTT and Zach Moss? Do you think this is finally the week not to start Moss?
Yeah, don't start Moss. I would start Jonathan Taylor Thomas, whatever his name is, Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah,
JTT.
Yeah, it's that's who I'd start. But don't expect a lot of points. It's a tough matchup, and I don't think they're going to try to exploit the ground. I think they're going to use Jonathan Taylor more in the passing game. That's so PPR guys, you'll like it enough. But
Josh Downs, Pittman for sure. Any tight ends? I say no.
Kylan Granson and Ogletree have been getting a lot of targets. They're kind of like off the radar completely fantasy, but like in a matchup like this, I think daily fantasy, yeah. But not so sure about in PPR if you're in such a deep league. I mean, maybe. But what about Indianapolis defense?
Indy's D. Well, I mean, they get takeaways. They got a takeaway at the end of the Browns game.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
but they also gave up 39 points. You know.
Yeah. I mean, it's the turnovers that they're scoring fantasy points off. In this matchup, I wouldn't, just based on the low over under. Well, that might be your advantage, but I feel like I don't know, just not a good start for me. It's an all right matchup though.
Yeah.
What about the Saints? Derek Carr, you think about streaming him this week?
Nah, I wouldn't stream Derek Carr. I would get Kamara, Lave. I wouldn't mess with Jamal Williams. He's coming back, or he came back. Did he come back last week, or is he coming back?
Uh, he's healthy in his designation.
Yeah, but
Um,
man, he had some crazy year last year with all the touchdown,
Yeah.
goal line work and everything.
yeah, I think that's more the system of the Lions than rather the
Yeah,
just being in New Orleans now. I mean, he's definitely not worth starting in my opinion. He was back last week. He didn't
Yep.
score. He only got 5 rushing attempts. Not enough opportunity for me, son.
I like I like all 3 of the wide receivers.
Oh yeah,
Olave, Thomas, Shaheed. They Shaheed, he has like 20 less targets than Michael Thomas, but his yardage is, he's only off by like 50 yards.
yeah.
Deep threat. He's got, man, nobody has touchdowns. Olave has 1, Thomas has 1, Shaheed has 2.
Yeah, it's rough out there for touchdowns for sure. It's
What
just
in the world?
this offense. I mean, they have a good passing attack. I mean, you see it in passing down to Kamara too. It's basically that's all they do.
Halfway through the season, Derek Carr has 6 touchdowns and 4 interceptions.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's gonna be the way he finishes too.
So don't start Derek Carr.
You're
ever.
lucky if he's gonna finish the season with 20 touchdowns. So
Yeah.
you just wish they had more higher power scoring for sure.
Kamara, you got lucky if you drafted him.
Yeah, I think you start the Saints defense just based on the turnovers. I mean, like you said, Gardner Minshew, 4 turnovers last week. I wouldn't want him in real life long term, but he's good for fantasy. He's like a Jameis Winston. He's gonna turn the ball over, but he's gonna get you 25 fantasy points at the same time. Alrighty, on to the next one. We got Jacksonville Jaguars at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Over under is 41, so a little bit lower. Jaguars are favored by 2. How do you feel about Trevor Lawrence?
I feel good about him. I feel like he's getting back in his groove,
Oh yeah,
He's getting his mojo back. I think he's going to be second half of the season. I think he's going to be fine. You know what's crazy? People are like, "Oh, he's struggling." He was just struggling in fantasy. Really, they're 5-2.
No, yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. There's a big difference between fantasy and real life, and
we can't beat him. So I mean, I'm not gonna.
I wish we had Trevor Lawrence. I'd take him over Anthony Richardson, potentially. But I mean, Jacksonville, yeah, he's got a low floor. I think he's in the streaming categories now. Maybe you're not even rostering him if you're in not such a deep league. But yeah, low floor as always. Christian Kirk, how do you feel about him? You think he's going to continue his dominance?
Yep.
Yeah,
I do.
It's a tougher matchup against the Steelers, but I see starting him the most, even over Calvin Ridley. But I don't hate it if you have to start Calvin.
He's never done this good before, like this early, right? Christian Kirk.
No, he's having a breakout year. Yeah, career year. He was pretty good in random games last year, though. But yeah. So what about the running back here for the Jaguars?
ETN,
of course.
He surprised me so far.
Yeah, I'm trying to trade for him. My wife is not having it.
Nice.
Yeah, I was drawing a blank there, but anyways, yeah, I mean, he's definitely top 3 in fantasy. He's in your lineup every week, top 4 maybe.
Yeah.
And running backs. So what about Evan Ingram? Hard start?
Ingram, yeah, I'd start him.
I think that's week to week. He's in that category now. If you have him, you're starting him. It's not a great matchup, but he should do all right.
You can finally trust Evan Ingram. I know we've all drafted him like the last 5 years and then nothing.
Yeah, I mean it's 29th, so third worst matchup, but I just see him getting. He's always got a low floor. Jaguars defense, I think you can start him,
Yeah,
especially.
Jaguars. That's what I was gonna say. I was like, this is kind of like the whatever, I guess, flyer. If you don't have, if your defense is on a bye or you're just looking to, do better than whoever you usually play. Like I actually was gonna drop or put the 49ers on the bench this week because I got Cincy and actually pick up Jacksonville and play them.
Yeah, I that's a great point. I'd start Jaguars
Steelers.
over
Steelers offense sucks,
Yep,
man.
I'd start him over the
So
49ers
bad.
defense. I'd start him over the Cowboys defense this week.
Yeah.
Anywho, so yeah, with that being said, Pittsburgh rough for everybody. I think Deontay Johnson's going to be out this week. Short comeback, but
Don't it doesn't matter anyways. They got
yeah,
Kenny Pickett still.
yeah. But George Pickens is actually performing well with fantasy. He's like the only target, and he has so much talent. He's getting you fantasy points. How do you feel about starting him, George Pickens?
uh, I mean, I'm just trying to put myself in the person's shoes that has George Pickens.
I mean, it's
I'm gonna.
the 11th
I'm,
best matchup. So, uh, I mean,
I would.
he's
I don't really like. Nah, I'd probably try to get somebody else. There's plenty of other, waiver receivers. Honestly, I would pick up Curtis Samuel and play him honestly instead of Pickens.
I got Pickens over Samuel.
Yeah.
I mean, he scored over 20 fantasy points in two of his matchups. At least scored 10 and four of the six. I mean, his average is probably fairly high,
Oh
but
wow. I just looked at his stats. I was
uh,
must have been thinking about a different George Pickens.
I mean, he's just his talent. I mean, it's not his quarterback in the
Yeah.
system. He's the only fantasy option I see as viable. But I could see Jalen Warren being started this week. Definitely not starting. Jacksonville's rush defense is crazy good. Definitely not starting Najee. How do you feel about those guys?
No.
Yeah, I mean,
No.
just play it safe. I agree.
It's Warren's job to take eventually, but I feel like they haven't given up on Harris yet.
No, the Jaguars' pass defense to the running backs is not as good as the rush defense, basically running the ball. So Jalen Warren in PPR could be a last minute. You're in deep leagues. I think you could start him there, but in that scenario. But what about Fryermuth?
Yeah, I actually like him.
Yeah,
I'd start him.
I think he's the second best option on this offense. Um, a little bit tougher matchup, but yeah, you can start him. What about Pittsburgh Steelers defense? They're stout. They're amazing. TJ Watt, what do you feel?
I mean, the Trevor Lawrence when they played, who'd they play? Was it Buffalo?
Yeah,
He was, yeah, he was projected to struggle, but I mean, he did great. So, I mean, they're capable of turnovers and all that.
yeah. Really, the Steelers haven't performed in really tough matchups, but their defense has performed in okay matchups. So this is one of those okay ones. I think you can start the Pittsburgh defense.
Yeah.
It's not going to be amazing. Again, maybe 7 points, but if they're
Yeah,
your team, you don't
not
want
a
to drop
top
them.
5 start, but yeah.
If you want to hold two defenses and start somebody else, fine. But I wouldn't hold two. I'd just start this team if you have them. Alrighty, on to the next one. We got the LA Rams at the Dallas Cowboys, 45.5 over under. 6-point underdogs the Rams are away at the Cowboys. How do you feel about Matty Stafford this week?
I Cowboys and Rams. Let me think about this one.
I mean, it's a tough
Um,
matchup for quarterbacks. So, I mean, do you think if you're
dude, that
streaming other
defense,
options?
yeah, that defense scares me, man. The
Yeah,
Cowboys.
yeah. But I mean, I could see you starting Cup and Puka Nakua, but their rush defense is pretty good as well. But I could see just the way they pass the Rams. I wouldn't worry too much about Puka or Cooper Cup this week.
Yeah, I mean, really, the only teams that it's weird. The only teams that the Cowboys have struggled with defensively, they gave up 42 to the 49ers, and they gave up 28 to the Cardinals, which is kind of wild. They got beat by both. Those are their only two losses. But
Yeah,
then everybody else, they just 40-0 with the Giants, 30-10 with the Jets, 38-3 with the Patriots. I mean, they're all bad offenses,
uh-huh.
but Chargers, they held them to 17.
Yeah. The
I don't
implied point total for the Rams this week is about 20. So, I mean, I really just shoot my shot on the wide receivers of the Rams.
Yeah, Nakua is for sure. I love that dude. Cooper Cup. Is Kyron Williams? Is he injured?
Um, yeah, I mean, he's still out. He's on IR for 4 weeks. So, I mean, it's going to be Daryl Henderson. He's going to be activated back from the practice squad. They can do that up to 4 times. So, uh, don't be worried about him being relegated back to the practice squad. I think he's going to
Man,
get most of the touches.
people were all excited about Daryl Henderson, but I'm just like, man, even if I had Fab, I wouldn't even put any money on him.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't go for much this in our league, but I would stay away from Freeman and Daryl Henderson. Zach Evans isn't going to get much touches, even though he did see some action this past game. But yeah,
Even if he
just
does, Micah Parsons is just going to clean his clock, man.
yeah, for sure. I wouldn't touch Higby either. I think Cooper and Nakua is, if you have them, you're starting them, but you don't expect too much crazy outcomes, fantasy outcomes. What about
Maybe
the
maybe this is the week Bryson Hopkins goes off.
yeah, maybe, possibly. You never know. Shoot your shot in daily fantasy.
Yep.
What about the Rams defense?
Uh, at Dallas, I mean, you could start him.
Yeah, I
It's not. It's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna be a barn burner game. I think it'll be a grinded out kind of game.
yeah. I mean, I don't think I think the over under is a little high as well, but I mean maybe Vegas knows something on this. I mean, I wouldn't start the Rams, but I understand what you're saying. I think it could be a low scoring game as well.
I think it could be a turnover filled game
Yeah,
by both teams.
yeah. I don't trust Dak that much. How do you feel about streaming him this week?
Oh,
Coming off a bye, did well against the Chargers. It's middle of the road, 13th best matchup for the Rams. I mean, I could see streaming him, but
yeah. Dak is the he's in the exact same stat category as Derek Carr. 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I could see you streaming him, but I wouldn't do it. What about Tony Pollard this week?
Tony Pollard, yeah. That one's a no brainer.
Yeah, he's been doing great. I mean, it's a tougher matchup, so maybe expect around 10 points instead of you know 15 to 20. But yeah,
Jake Ferguson.
I think he's out of your lineup this week. I don't like him. I mean, he has a good matchup, but I don't really like him in fantasy. He's just really only got you 2 good weeks, maybe three, but 3 out of the 6. I don't know. I see really CD Lamb as the only passing option I would put. in my lineup.
Yeah, I mean, he has 21 receptions for 190 yards and a touchdown. I think Travis Kelce got that like a couple weeks ago in one game.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean,
Crazy.
there's only one Travis Kelce. But I mean, as far
Yep.
as streaming tight ends, I think there's better. But if that's your only option for streaming, go ahead.
I picked him up for next week because
Yeah.
Kittle's out, but I'm just gonna listen to your advice and drop him.
Well, don't drop him if you've got that plan going. I'm just saying.
No, I believe in you. I trust you.
Just use them next week is what I'm saying. But I mean, if you don't want to waste that lineup spot for 1 week, sure, I guess. But
Michael Gallup.
I don't think you can start
Nah.
Gallup or Cooks yet. They
Nah.
haven't proven anything this season. Okay.
Gallup's on the verge of just being washed, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's not even that old. He's like 20 something, 27.
He'll get a second contract, but yeah, I mean he'll fizzle out of the league. What about this defense? You like him? I think you said you liked him.
Which one?
I think you said you're in love with him. I think you said you have a crush on him.
Which defense?
The Cowboys.
I'm scared of them.
Yeah.
I like their secondary a lot. They don't
Yeah.
really get a lot of praise, but I mean, they're capable of pick sixes, just interceptions in general, and you already know that they can fill it up with sacks.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're going to give, like I said, they're going to give Nick Puka Nakua and Cup a hard time. But, yeah, I mean, you got to start those two guys. But, yeah, I agree with you. I think you got me on your side. It's going to be lower than under 45 and a half. Maybe see it closer to 40.
Yeah. Their starting right tackle's out. I don't know how long he's been out. But,
Rams?
yeah.
Okay.
Havenstein.
Yeah.
Well, he's questionable, so maybe that has something to do with I don't know, some sacks there.
Yeah. Well, I think that's pretty much all the fantasy options. So on to the next one. We got the Minnesota Vikings at the Green Bay Packers over under 42. Vikings are favored by 1. It's basically a pick 'em. How do you feel about Kirk Cousins this week? He's got a pretty good matchup.
I feel really good about Kirk Cousins, but I also feel really good about the Packers getting back in the win column.
Oh, nice. I see the Vikings winning this, but
I don't.
Yeah, wow.
And they won't, Garrett, because I just said that.
Reminds me of Mickey Valancourt.
I just have to give you guys those freaking Thursday night games. I'm like, dude, put the money on this.
It's like, that's not what I guess. This is what it's gonna be.
Dude, the best one was when it was the Chicago Bears, and Matt's like, don't ever bet money on the Bears, and they dominated that game.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah, Kirk Cousins, great start. As far as wide receivers, do you think Brandon Powell is able to be started even in a flex this week?
Wait, who's that?
He's kind of breaking out the second receiving option as far as wide receiver.
Oh yeah, I've been following him for a while. I've started. I'd go ahead and get him in there.
I mean, he did fairly well last week with 10 points, but it was a better matchup for wide receivers. I would wait until he really breaks out with more. But Jordan Addison's in your lineup, and you wish Justin Jefferson was available. But what about Madison?
Fun fact about Brandon Powell. He has him and TJ Hawkinson have the best 2 catch rate percentages over JJ and Jordan Addison. So there you go.
Catch rate percentage is huge.
JJ is only 36 of 53.
Wow.
If it matters.
Yeah. But I mean, I think you can start Madison. It's a good matchup this week. I wouldn't expect a lot of points because he's Madison, but I think he's one of the good matchups that you can start him.
Yeah, he's pretty. I count on 60 to 70 yards a game on like 20 rushes and maybe a catch or two.
Yeah.
No
So TJ
touchdown.
Hawkinson, how do you feel about him?
Oh yeah, I love Hawkinson.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's in your lineup no matter what.
With or without Jefferson, just leave him in.
Yeah, he's
Even
top.
if he'll have an off game every now and again where they just don't target him, but yeah, just leave him in.
Yeah, he's top 5 tight end in my opinion. And a C. So, what about Jordan Love this week? You see him as a streamer. It's a good matchup.
Yeah.
I think.
Yep.
I think he does pretty well. So Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs. How do you feel about these passing wide receiver or the wide receiver options?
Put Dobbs in just because he's the red zone target.
Yeah.
Christian Watson. I would start either one of them. Jaden Reed. I don't know. That's too like hot or cold for me. Really, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not into that.
I see your point about the Saints, but it's a similar category, but they're not as equal. But I think you can start Jaden Reed. I would prefer not to. But yeah, Romeo Dobbs, Christian Watson are in my lineups. Probably all 3 flex options. I wouldn't do more than that. But Aaron Jones, you confident in him with his coming back from his injury?
They do not want to be 2-5.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't even like. They said he's good to go today. Like, I don't even think they have him on a pitch count. I think they're just like, man.
Yeah, we need you.
Yeah.
So, as far as the, tight ends, I wouldn't worry about Luke Musgraves. He's not broken out yet. And then the Packers D.
Bench. I know people have been playing Dillon. Bench Dillon. I wouldn't play him this week.
Oh yeah, he hadn't even been doing good in Aaron Jones' stead. So
yeah, well now he's going to be doing even worse.
Yeah. So yeah, and I don't think you can start the Packers D. So what about you?
No, not against the Vikings.
Yeah. Okay. On to the next one. We're going to try to run through this one quick because we're almost out of time with this.
All right, let's roll.
Okay. New York Jets against the Giants. Over under is pretty low, 35.5. Probably the lowest of the year if I have my numbers right. Jets are -3 at home, or well, I guess they're the away team, but I think they play in the same stadium. Is that correct?
Sounds right.
Okay.
I wouldn't argue it.
Okay,
MetLife, yeah.
MetLife.
Oh, wait, actually, I have no idea.
I think they share. Anyways, you're not starting Zach Wilson. How do you feel about Breece Hall this week?
Breece Hall. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Throw him in there.
It's a tougher matchup, but I think
don't matter.
That's the heart of their offense. Yep.
Breece freaking Hall, man.
What do you feel about Garrett Wilson this week? I like him. I'm going to put him in my flex maybe. I'm pretty deep at wide receiver though, but I think he's got a good matchup. I wouldn't start any other passing options. No tight ends.
I wouldn't start any other Jet.
Yeah. Just really confident in
I'd start the defense though.
Yeah, I think both defenses could be started here. It's a really low over under. Turnovers are high with Zach Wilson. If 35. Daniel Jones is in, I think turnovers are high for him. But Tyrod might be limiting those turnovers for the Jets defense. But I think they're both startable here. Tyrod, if he's starting, you think he's a good streamer this week?
No.
Yeah, I mean, he really only showed out last week. Tough matchup against Buffalo and only came in the middle of the game on Miami. So not a big sample size. I wouldn't be confident. What about Saquon this week?
Saquon.
I mean, I think he's in your lineup, but as far as expectations, I mean, maybe don't expect as much as normal.
Yeah, I mean, he could get you, 10. He could get you 10 at least.
Yeah. And I'm not worried about any passing options except for Darren Waller at tight end here for the Giants.
They don't have any receivers yet, do they?
Yeah, I don't think they're throwing out anybody. I think they just have tight ends and
I've been waiting. I'm like, who's their number one? Just scoop him up. But
yeah,
Wandale.
Wand-
Wandale's like the only one that comes to mind, really.
yeah, and he's Isaiah Hodgins is nothing this year. He was kind of breaking out at the end of last year, fantasy wise, but nah, he's nothing so far. So, uh, yeah, I think Giants defense is startable as well.
Yep, I agree.
So, uh, oh, sorry, excuse me.
It's the
And
next one.
anyways, we're gonna pause the Zoom and start up again.
All right.